We had an incident on MEXC in terms of they stopped withdrawal and deposit. We initially thought it's because they had issues with the node and finding boot nodes, which there was an issue there, and we fixed it. But they were like us, so they thought when we told them that we're gonna swap, that they can instantly swap the token. So that's why they stopped withdrawal and deposit instantly. And then they were like waiting on us to swap, right? And it was like today that I told them that it's too early. We can't swap now. That swapping. Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, Robinho, maybe it's on your side. So check. Okay, so all the others can, so probably the voice is good. Yeah, so obviously, like the Bayou network will only stop by, let me see fast, the Bayou network, no, the Bayou network will only stop in 36 days, right? So we only will provide a swap for exchanges like 6 to 7 days previously. So most certainly they will stop deposit and withdrawal like 7 days previously, and then we will do the swap for them, making sure that all those deposits that do have Bayun tokens on the exchange will then have the same amount of Ayun tokens available to them, which is good in terms of more token holders. I think that's also an important part. Maybe you have seen that Ayun has still not the same amount of token holders as Bayun has. There will be a swap one-to-one, meaning that we will just move, I think it's 49 millions, and they will get like 49 million of tokens, and then we will move that 1 million that was burned, we will move to the treasury. We do have, I just had today, like with another market maker, some discussions about things that are possible like token payback program, burning stuff, and so on. And obviously, those things they all need to be compliant with the regulations. So therefore, we have at the moment no intention to do something, but we are elaborating on possible future things that we can do to provide some more financial value also to our network. So we will move forward to the exchanges. Yeah, so one discussion we also have obviously with Gate is how to provide the swap, because I mean, for us, it would have been much easier to just do a delisting of the Bayou token on Gate and then just do the swap for all the wallets outside and not to support Gate to swap. Anyway, let's move forward. Exactly. So the road ahead. So we have been quite disappointed with BBB, to be honest, even though we had, I would say, good money prices. And I mean, if you would just have a small incentive to play and try to get some money, you would have had the possibility to do that. You could just play for free by creating new accounts and getting like the redeem code to play at least for 100 free mints and try to leverage and find one of the higher DNA or lower DNA. It's just like a matter of work. So if you would like invest like 3 hours, most certainly with 3 hours playing with 6 accounts would lead to you getting at least $100. So but there was not this amount of players, so we haven't seen like a lot of new players coming in. So mostly it were the same players playing as usual. And the influencer campaign, I think it was 8 or 9 influencers, and they did their job in terms of providing content, videos, and stuff. I think they got no affiliation. So nobody was using their code at all. And also puts us in a position where we don't really know if that is a marketing instrument that is useful for us at this point. I mean, there is multiple things that we could blame for it. Is it because of the wallet? Is it maybe because of the Polkadot ecosystem? Is it because BBB is just not interesting at all, or maybe something else? I mean, it's open, but I would say it's mostly because influencers at that point are not really having an audience which, yeah, maybe they have like fake audiences, or I don't know exactly. Anyway, it's just like it puts us in the position where we have just to rethink the whole marketing, which we are currently doing, and which is one of the big tasks in January for Ajuna Network to define this new marketing strategy. Exactly, and I mean the road is not in a timely manner ordered, but maybe we can like go on top of here, or maybe let me see if I can just like point out some of those things. So first of all, I think the most important part is now this consolidation of Bayou network and Iuna network together, because this will relieve us with a lot of infrastructure, because you don't need to maintain two blockchains. We don't need to make sure that we have DevOps for them. We also don't need to make sure that we have two repositories taking to account. Also, the exchange handling is easier. So I think that's one of the most important part, that we do a consolidation. Then we need to define what will happen with the treasury money from Bayou network that will be converted to Ayun, right? I mean, most simple part would be just to put it in the Polkadot, in the Ayuna network treasury. But there are other possibilities which we need to think of. Then the next thing is the BBB end. At the moment, there is no way that we can access the treasury from big balls of Bayun, even though I think it's like 1.2 or 1.4 million of Ayun there, which should be taken for the rewards. But as I designed the framework, you are not able to take any tokens out of the AAA treasury or the BBB treasury as long as there is an ongoing season. So, and also it doesn't make sense to maintain this season forever. So we need to define an end of the season where BBB won't be anymore able to be minted. And we are working at Sage, and Sage just moved into the integration of the first demo game, which is Hero Jam. And I think there is now the first Solo node that has Hero Jam implemented in its current way. And we have already started on the web design, on like the providing how the feeling is. Theo has started to work on the UI. Didak has started to do the first implementation. It's also not like a game, like a fully designed game. It's a demo game how everyone could use it very simply. And it should make sure that developers have a really easy entry on creating games on top. And I think it's very important for us and for our future into Polkadot on how Sage and HeroJam will be implemented and utilize Ajuna Network and Polkadot Hub. Now, why Polkadot Hub? As you all know that Polkadot is moving again, or is moving now back into a less defragmented world by trying to centralize the smart contract ability on Polkadot Asset Hub by having like smart contracts and or solidity available on Asset Hub. So like a common parachain that has the ability to host smart contracts. And obviously it's like a central part, like Polkadot Asset Hub, which also would be able to provide all those big DeFi protocols and stuff like that. So for us, Polkadot Hub, which is like the Polkadot asset hub with smart contracts, is providing utility because Ajuna network doesn't have EVM, right? Um, but our token is also available on Polkadot Asset Hub. So like moving an Ioun token from Ajuna network to Polkadot Asset Hub is doable and already integrated. And the good thing is here, so that puts us into the position that we can create any smart contract and any utility on Polkadot Asset Hub with the use of Ioun token. So we can create a smart contract that utilize some NFTs or some game functionalities and only allows you to be used with Ioun tokens. And that brings us in a good position because it makes Ajuna network EVM ready. And on the other hand, we still can create assets and stuff on top of Ajuna network. But as you all know, when we created the missions and quests, we created an NFT transfer part, which makes sure that any asset that you have can be created as an NFT. And if you burn the NFT, then you get the asset again in the game. As an example, you can take your big ball that you have, which is legendary as an example, and then create an NFT out of it. But then you can't play any more with it, but you have then an NFT, which is non-fungible, which you can trade and do whatever you want with it. Now, what we are currently looking for is that instead of creating the NFT on top of Ajuna network, we intend to create with XCM when you start to like do this transfer for a big ball or for a future asset that is created in Sage or Hero Jam or whatever game is coming. That instead of creating the NFT on Ajuna network, where you are still like very locked in our network, it would create the NFT on Polkadot Asset Hub, where you are then able to utilize any EVM contract that builds utility on top of those assets, and you can use the marketplaces that should exist there. So if Polkadot Asset Hub is becoming like a centralized smart contract chain of this future Polkadot universe, then having those assets already there makes a lot of sense for us. And it creates value for us in terms of having the utility on Ajuna network, but having the assets also as NFTs then on Asset Hub, where we can create EVM Solidity contract that create utility on top of it. So that's like one thing that we are really keen on is like trying to figure out how we can create utility for Ajuna and our token on top of Polkadot Asset Hub by having this new ability on creating smart contracts there. And because EVM is much easier able to connect to other EVM chains, I think this will also be the possibility in the future to provide bridges and stuff like that. So I think Polkadot Asset Hub will be anyway one of the first integrations when it comes to bridge to other ecosystems. And at some point, we obviously will also need to see in core time. Ajuna network will have its lease wearing out by mid of 2026, but we will have to see how this impacts us already previously. Wildcard, we will have tomorrow a workshop. So Wildcard, which has been developed with us and Polycrypt together has not stopped, even though we were not accepted for the decentralized futures fund. Polycrypt has been continuing to make wildcard production ready, and tomorrow we will have a workshop for 2 hours to see how 2025 is being impacting wildcard and how we're gonna move forward with it. Besides that, we are in discussions with, for example, Wildlands. We have just had like a discussion with the developer of it, which is called Under. He has been working, I think, for Moonsummer, and we are currently trying to figure out how we can utilize Sage uh, to support him, or if there is like a way to work together. Obviously, he's now working with Unity, which is much easier for us because we do have the Polkadot Unity SDK. We also re-signed the contract with Unity just like a few days ago, where .play and Ajuna Network, like .play is the company from Nicholas, is like with Ajuna Network, like providing the resources for 2025, the Polkadot SDK for Unity. Um, Besides that, I had another thing. Exactly. So BattleMox also is going to move over to Sage in terms of the whole on-chain part, which was initially built on a pallet, is going to move on top of Sage, which will then allow us to reuse all the things that we built on top of Sage for all the developers, also to use them for BattleMox and make it a lot easier for us to like work on it in terms of like reusability. So then when we do an integration for BattleMox, it can be reused by anyone. And that doesn't mean that the whole BattleMox part, because it still consists of two somehow separate parts, like the on-chain part and the combat part. But the on-chain part is being moved to Sage, which allows us then to independently be able to, for example, launch the part that is on-chain previous to the off-chain part. The DMOC token, which should be the token for BattleMox, has been already minted on Ajuna network. Yeah, so it's just like we need to figure out how we move that over, and mostly how we implement the battle part, which is obviously like the more harder part. And probably also gonna like talk with Nicholas and .play if there is a way on making this happen, because it still would need like a lot of money, in my opinion, to finish it. Stardust colonies, exactly. So what about Stardust colonies when Sage is ready? So why have we started to build Sage? When we had the discussions and the forth and back with Evolute around Stardust, we saw that our system, our framework was quite complicated in terms of people understanding it, right? How to use it. And for that purpose, we created Sage in terms of a very easy abstraction where, in fact, you create rules and transitions, and that's it. And that makes it a lot easier for game developers to understand the system. And it also makes it much easier to, for example, provide a pseudo gaming language where you could say, okay, I just write those rules in this language, and then it will generate it into a pellet configuration. It also would allow us, hopefully, and that's also one of the use cases I'm looking forward to, is that you would do the configuration as a smart contract and have the Sage pellet run it in behind, meaning that everyone could create a game on top of Sage by just providing a smart contract with the rules and the transitions. And that would be obviously a very good use case for us, because that would allow us to just say, okay, by Ioun token, you need to deploy your game, and a certain amount of tokens you need to pay, for example, for a certain period or what, as long as you use the Sage palette in the background. But you are free to change or to create your own game without any interaction from our side. And when you get your rewards, you just take them out of your smart contract. And that would be cool because that would allow anyone to just like follow a template or just copy paste what already exists. For example, copy paste battle mocks and say, okay, I want to reuse this egg and generation and the mutation and the way on how to create those things, but I want to create something with dragons and I want to use them later in something else. And I want also to make sure that because in Hero Jam I saw that you can travel and hunt and work. So I want to make my dragons also to be able to go out and hunt. So I will just combine and copy paste what I saw in Battle Mocks for the creation and the eggs and stuff. And I will take some parts from Hero Jam and that's my new game, right? And I will call it whatever, Dragon Jam, and just like launch it. That would be a really, really good use case, and it would take a lot of hassle away that we currently have on our non-EVM chain, where everything needs to be very much curated from our side to be running on top of our chain. So that's a little bit the road ahead. That's mostly covering the first half of the year, which I think the really important part is now in February, the consolidation of both chains. And then afterwards, it's really full on Sage and Hero Jam. And then it's about Polkadot Asset Hub and how we can leverage the smart contract ability on Asset Hub. Yeah, so that's a little bit the current state where we are at, and I'm super happy to answer the questions from your side if there are any. Tudum. Crypto, you have a question maybe? Okay, when will we play the next season? That's a good question. And for that purpose, we're gonna wait like the marketing meeting with B Crypto together because it's also, I mean, we could end BBB right now and kick off season two. If it's season two, like the crafting part from the pets, or even like the pretty similar version of the avatars, um, that's like open to the decisions now, right? And it will be more or less like in the upcoming 2 weeks about us to make sure that we decide on the right um, thing. One thing that I also thought could be interesting is to do, yeah, we will see. I mean, I will wait till we have here more information. Maybe just like to give here an insight, just like for Perfta here, I think I opened up the whole wildcard documentation, our application to the decentralized futures fund. I mean, you can maybe if you're not able to read through it, you can just post it into ChatGPT and make a summary out of it. There is no relation with AI. Um, I know AI is super important, and I have to be honest, I played with an AI agent. I just created one, I think last week on virtuals that did like creating its own tweets and stuff, its own token and stuff. I didn't mention to anyone, obviously, because it was only testing purpose. And there is, even though I think spent like $500 to create it, but it's more on finding out what could we as Ayuna take from it, where could it be beneficial for us. Yeah, so obviously I'm always like thinking on Ayuna, and yeah, I think it even created the Ayun token. But anyway, doesn't matter. The question here is really for me to understand how could we use it? How does it make our value proposition in gaming better? How can we utilize it for social media? Is it a way that makes sense for us, or is it just like a balloon which gonna explode? But I think it has some relevance. Are BBB season two over, or will it be available in the unit train? Why not a reboot? Yeah, so yeah, I think it's exactly to be discussed. There is nothing done so far. We have multiple opportunities, right? I even could go back to Patrick and say, hey, look, let's design something new. We had like those faces, we had those avatars, we had those pets. Let's do something new, right? We want to make sure that we have something for the launch of the Polkadot Asset Hub, maybe an NFT collection, but I don't know exactly. And I think it's a lot about January now with Big Crypto, but also with the team, with talking about Sage and seeing like what is possible, what could we do, how could we leverage then this launch, which I really hope that they create like this big hype for July, June, where Asset Hub should launch the smart contracts. But from our side, we have multiple opportunities. We can relaunch, we can do again tournaments, we can do high stake tournaments, but we need to find a way to get people to play those tournaments. Because I mean, if I would say you can win like 3 little pudgy penguins, right? It won't change the amount of players that play, right? It will be again like where Robinho, me, Be Crypto, Otto, and all those on Man on the Moon that play and get those rewards, right? But we are not doing those to make us happy, right? We are doing those to get more inflow into this community, right? So that's something that we need to solve, and I'm pretty sure that we will find new kind of ways on doing so. Some of the AI usage in game, I know some projects trying to create some on-chain brain and digital life form that can react to stimulus like token price themselves, inspired from the one project that on-chain brain. I mean, that already exists. I'm not sure if you are aware of the ELISA project, the AI16 that ELISA OS, which is exactly this. And I can show you fast if you see my screen. You will find here like a very cool AI agent, which already has an integration into a ton of tokens. And again, this is one thing that I really that's really not cool. I mean, you have Solana, Abstract, Aptos, Avalanche, Coinbase, Conflux, Flow, Fuel, ICP, Near, Starknet, but there's again no substrate, nothing here, nothing like Polkadot Asset Hub. And the ELISA AI agent, which you can run on your own, is able to use DeFi to swap tokens. You can talk to him and give him like certain kind of brains, and he would do like on-chain actions out of it. So, and yeah, obviously I'm like looking into this to find out like what is possible. At the moment, what I saw is that they act as a DAO where people can put in money and the agent is like trying to figure out how he should take that money and create value, right? I mean, if he has a token like the ELISA token, which is quite interesting, but I think it's still like a little bit experimental. Okay, so um, yeah, I mean, if there are no more questions, we will do again at least one. Okay, I will check that link out, Bertha. Thanks a lot. So super interesting. Um, we will do at least one of those AMA a month, and making sure that we catch up and make sure that we move along and have the information. And if there is something to happen earlier, we will just call in another AMA faster, right? I'm pretty sure that there will be some movements in the upcoming weeks and in the February month. So I hope really that we can have some more information soon. If there is no more questions, then thanks a lot, guys, for being with me, and see you soon.